All right, sixth grade, another lesson. That's right, math lessons with Mr. Morris. Thanks for joining me. Today it's going to be a quick one. I'm going to show you how to take a fraction and turn it into a decimal and a percent. Okay, real simple. So we're going to start with the fraction like you see here, 3/4. Basically, what you're doing is you take the top number, put it inside the bracket, the bottom number, the outside the bracket, and you begin to divide. So the first thing I'm going to say is, well, I can't squeeze 4 into 3. Well, I can, but I'm going to add a decimal first, and then I'm going to add a 0. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I know it goes 7 times, which is going to give me 28. I'm going to subtract and get 2 left over. So I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. Now it becomes 20. And that goes 5 times, which is going to give me 20 for the bottom. And there is my decimal. You just created your decimal. So 3/4 is going to become 0.75. Okay, now we're going to take the 0.75, which is the decimal, and we're now going to make it a percent. So for the decimal, the rule is you're going to move it 2 places. All right, 2 places to the right. 2 places to the right. So I'm going to take this decimal, move 2 places, and then it's going to become 75%. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a fraction, and now I'm going to show you a mixed number. Okay, now mixed number is really almost the same exact thing, and it actually answers part of the question for you. All right, so watch what I'm going to explain here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the mixed number. And the mixed number is going to be, let's say, 5. And then the fraction will be 2/5. Okay, so to create this fraction to become a decimal, we already have a whole number of 5. So that's going to become part of our answer. Our answer is going to be 5 point, and then whatever the 2/5 becomes as a decimal. So 5 stays to the outside of the bracket, 2 to the inside, and now we just divide. So I'm going to add a decimal, I'm going to add a 0, and I know 5 is going to squeeze into 24 times. So that is going to be my answer. My answer is going to be 5.4. That's my decimal. Okay, that's my decimal. So now I'm going to take my 5.4 and I'm going to make it a percentage. To make it a percentage, the rule is you move the decimal 2 places to the right. 1, 2, and add a 0. So my new number becomes 540 point, or in this case, it becomes 540%. Okay, so that's basically what you're doing. To make a fraction a decimal, you divide. Okay, and then the decimal to percentage part is pretty simple. You just have to be able to move to the right 2 places with the decimal, and you would have created your percent. Okay, so for what I'm going to show you now is this. I'm going to show you that you're going to learn how to go from fraction to decimal to percent, and then you're going to work actually in the other directions. Okay, and by that is I'm going to give you a percentage. A percentage, let's say, is 75. To make it a decimal, you're going to drop the percent sign, and now you have a whole number of 75, and you're going to move it 2 places. So it becomes 0.75. So right now you've gone from percent to decimal. Now we're going to take this decimal and make it a fraction. Real simple. You take the number. You're going to create it a fraction now. How many digits do you see for 75? Well, there's 2 digits. So for every digit, you give it a 0. 0, 0, and then just add a 1. Now it's a fraction. The only thing you have to do is now we have to reduce it. Okay? So to reduce this fraction, I know that I can take this 75 and divide it by both 25 and 25, which eventually will give me the answer. 3/4. Okay, now we started with 3/4 in the beginning of the video. Let's work the other direction now just to show you how it works. Let's make 3/4 a decimal. So bottom number inside the bracket, top number inside, bottom number outside the bracket, top number inside the bracket. So I'm going to add a 0 and a decimal, a point, a 0, and I'm going to say, well, 4 into 30 is definitely 7 times, which is 28, which is going to give me 2 left over. I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. Now I have 20, which is going to give me 5 times. And look what we got here. We got a match. So it does work, 0.75. And now I'm going to make my 0.75 a percentage. I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right. And it's going to become 75%, just like what I have up here, a complete match. So you're going to learn to go both from percent to decimal to fraction, and then decimal from then fraction decimal to percent. All right, so let me do this. Let me show you one other example, because sometimes they're going to give you a decimal, and you're going to have to basically make it both a fraction and a percent. So now this is where the chart comes in handy. Now you're in the middle of the chart. Okay, so if you're in the middle of the chart, let's go with blue. All right, you're in the middle of the chart. Let me give you a decimal, 0.15. Okay, so I want it to be both a percent and a fraction. Okay, let's make it the percent first, because the percent first is the easiest. You have 0.15, and you're going in this direction. So it's 2 places to the right. 1, 2, it becomes 15%. Okay, and now we'll go with another color. Now let's make it a fraction. To make it a fraction, now we're going in this direction. And fraction's simple. You take your 0.15 and you just write it as the number 15. You don't need the decimal there. And then you say, okay, well, how many digits for 15? Well, it's got 2 digits, so I'm going to add a 0 for each digit. 5, 0, 1, 0, and then add a 1. And you got the start of your answer, but I'm going to need it reduced. Okay, so I know that 15 ends in 5 and 0. I can divide by 5. I can divide by 5. In this case, 15 divided by 5 is going to give me 3. 100 divided by 5 is going to give me 20. And there's your fraction. Okay, now we want to check it. Let's do one more, going back to what we started as. And we'll get this thing back to 0.15 when we take this fraction and divide it. Well, you can't do that, so I'm going to add a decimal, a 0. I'm going to go 1 time, which is 20. 1 left over. Add a 0. Bring it down. How many 20s in 100? 5. And you have your decimal. There's your decimal, 0.15. Now I'm going to take my 0.15 and go back in this direction, and it should get me back to 15% when I move my decimal 2 places to the right. And there's my 15%. Okay, so you learn to go from percent to decimal, then to fraction, and then from fraction to decimal to percent. And that's the video. Watch it often. You need to know the skill.